Hello, welcome to the first episode of Listen to Your Eyes, a podcast series from Horizon Therapeutics for people who have a thyroid condition and are experiencing problems with their eyes. Throughout this series, you can learn more about thyroid eye disease, or TED, and hear from physicians, caregivers, and others who discovered that their eye symptoms were actually TED. My name is Lauren Friedman. I'm a patient advocate and the host of Uninvisible Pod, a podcast about chronic invisible illness and disability. With a background in acting and my own list of chronic diagnoses, I am here to serve this community and bring light into the darkness, quite literally, throughout this series. Today, we are speaking with Gail Devers, 5-time Olympian, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, and inspiring health advocate who's been living with Graves' disease and symptoms of TED for more than 30 years. Gail, congratulations on such a decorated athletic career and for overcoming, almost insurmountable obstacles along the way. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
No, thank you, Lauren, for having me. And I have to say thank you to Horizon Therapeutics because they are allowing me, I'm working with them, and they're allowing me to share my story and raise awareness of TED. So thank you to everyone.
It's awesome. We're all so happy to be here together. And it's so important for us all really to be raising awareness of these, whether these conditions are rare or not. It's important that patients are empowered to really seek the right kind of care, which is what your journey in large part is all about. So for listeners who might not be aware, Gail, Graves' disease almost derailed your track career. So can you tell us when you realized that something was going on with your health?
Oh, wow. That takes me back to 1988. And it was about May of 1988. I had just broken the American record in the 100-meter hurdles.
Wow.
And we were training for the Olympic trials. The Olympic Games were going to be in Seoul, Korea. So somewhere between June, which was the trials, and May and June, I started having like a lot of issues. And I ran much slower than I had ever run. And there was no real reason, no apparent reason for why I'm running slow. And I barely made the team. I got to Seoul and I ran through 2 rounds. I didn't make the final. And it's hard to even to explain because I came home, I had come off of American record. Now I didn't even make the finals. And that was, the time was 12:61. I go back home from Seoul, Korea, and I started going to see doctors and doctors and doctors. And that was basically the start of a 2.5, almost 3-year painful journey of trying to find answers. And I was truly in search of answers.
I have to tell you, your journey, aside from the track and field part, sounds a lot like mine. This 2.5 to 3 year sort of wait, for diagnosis. So I truly relate to that. And it is such a difficult and emotional experience. Can you talk to us about the symptoms that you first started experiencing and really what that emotional journey was like for you, as well as it really came against your physical abilities? And you're an athlete.
And I'm glad you said that, Lauren, because I always tell people as an athlete, you feel like you know your body and you depend on your body. And going through what I went through, my body was letting me down. I first started having weight loss, and it was a sudden weight loss. And my running weight was between 120, 125. And I lost so much weight that I stopped looking at the scale. I went from 125 to under 80 pounds. That's significant. And I'm trying to still be out there training and trying to figure out what's going on. It wasn't working well. I had discoloration in different spots on my face. My skin was peeling. My hair was falling out. Now it's short now because I cut it, but at that time it was falling out. And I was never bald in all over, but I was bald in spots. My nails, which people always say my trademark fingernails, they were breaking. They were brittle, and nobody could find it. I mean, sleeping, I had trouble sleeping. I always tell people my eyes are normally large, but at this time they were extra large. They were bulging out. And to the crazy part that when I slept, people would be like, okay, that was kind of weird. Your eyes were still open when you were asleep. So I couldn't really tell if you were asleep or not. And so it was, for me, it was traumatic. I even stopped looking at myself in the mirror because I couldn't stand the way that I looked. I was sensitive. Like I had terrible headaches that I needed to go into a dark room, and that's where I was. I had like cloudy vision, and even today I still have like some issues sometimes, sensitivity to light. And I know even like if I'm driving at nighttime in the oncoming traffic, the cars, their lights kind of bother me. And so I remember having like, well, I was prescribed artificial tears because my eyes were always dry. I mean, and because I guess because they weren't closing either, that was something else. And I still have these issues. It's just, you look for answers. And for me, like with you, 2.5 years later, you get the answer and it's a relief, but it's also scary because you don't know what it means.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, what you mentioned about not wanting to look at yourself in the mirror, when you live in a body that is your career,
Right.
that gives you such a sense of pride and accomplishment. And then, as you say, to suddenly have your body fail you, I mean, what what did that do to you emotionally? I mean, that has to have been a harrowing experience.
I mean, it was, to be honest, one of the things that I did, I felt like, I was out there, my coach was out there supporting me, and I felt like I was taking up everybody's time. I had issues from, not being able to even remember what he told me to do when I went across the track, different things like that. And so it was like, I'm not running well. I don't understand why. And I always thought that I was this, I'm a details person. I've got sticky notes everywhere of my goals and my dreams that I want to accomplish. And now, I had signed those goals of this was a realistic goal that I thought that I could accomplish. And now something's going on. So I actually gave my coach a resignation letter saying that I don't want to take up your time. I feel like, I probably need to go somewhere else and do something else. So at least the athletes that are out here training, you can still keep training them. And he wouldn't take the letter. He's like, nope, not going
That's
to
a
do it.
good coach.
Yeah, it is. He's like, don't know what you're going through, but we're going to go through it together.
Mm.
And that was comforting to me. But it was still, 2.5 years. I had goals and dreams year by year of what it was that I was trying to accomplish. And, you go into a room, your head is pounding and there's no answer for it. You go to the doctors and you're still not getting answers. And so you start thinking that, okay, is it me? Am I really crazy? What's really going on? And I prayed over those years. I just need an answer. I need an answer. The worst place for me to be is in limbo of not knowing. And I did not know. And every time, someone tells you, well, maybe it's this, maybe you train too soon, maybe you're doing this, that can't be what it is. I so it's one of those things that I I was thankful when I got the answer. That was probably one of the happiest days of my life to just say, okay, it's not you. There is
Yeah.
something wrong with you. It's not, you didn't make this up. It's not, when you look in the mirror and you see this face that you don't recognize anymore because you've lost so much weight, your eyes look totally different. You've got this goiter. And now, you thought that that was your state of normality. And now somebody's saying, no, it's not. There's actually something wrong with you, Gail. You were right. You do know your
Yeah.
body.
It's
We're going to figure
validating.
this out. Right. And that validation meant the world to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with all the difficulties you had with your eyes and your vision
Mhm.
and your overall physical well being, how were you able to go on and win three world championships in hurdles? How did you do that?
I always tell people hurdling is a rhythm. And so it's like, there's from the blocks, there's 8 steps to the first hurdle, 3 steps in between each hurdle, and then 5 steps off the last hurdle to the finish line. So you're running in rhythm. Now, the difference is tell people I try not to run in rhythm. I wanted to be a sprinter and just take it and just learn to negotiate the hurdle as I feel it. And so, um, you couldn't see the hurdle. And so it didn't matter. You just keep looking forward. I always say, I don't look at the hurdle that I'm going over anyway, because that keeps me right here. I want to look to the future. So I'm looking to the next hurdle that I'm trying to get over. And I know 3 steps is going to be there. And you just take the hurdle and keep going.
I mean, this is such a metaphor for your experience
Oh,
with
it is
your
actually.
health. Yeah. I
I
mean,
tell people I take life one hurdle at a time.
absolutely. I mean, you're incredible. You're a world champion hurdler. You're running record breaking times and quite literally without being able to clearly see the obstacles in your way. So you mentioned this long quest for answers, these,
Mhm.
2.5, 3 years, which seems long, right? I mean, in the
Yes.
grand scheme of a lot of different diagnoses, it's actually not that long,
Right.
unfortunately. We hear
Right.
about people who wait 10, 20 years for diagnosis. But 3 years, when you don't know what's going on, when you live in a body that you also live off of, can you tell us what was that journey to diagnosis like for you, both emotionally and literally, physically?
Wow. It was an experience that I say that no one in this world should ever have to go through. And I take it upon my own shoulders to say that because I've gone through it, we're if I could make sure no one else has to go through that, it's then I have to do my part. I have to speak up. I have to do whatever I can do. It's like, you go to a variety of doctors, you look for an answer. 3 years almost. And nobody gives you the answer. Doctors were telling me that, oh, there's nothing wrong. Maybe you peak too many times, you're stressed out, or maybe you're even imagining things.
Ooh, that hurts the most.
Yeah, and you know this, and it's like,
Mm.
I don't think that's the case. And it truly was the most difficult time in my life. Um, my appearance, I didn't look the way I remember looking. I didn't feel the way that I wanted to feel, and there was nothing that I could do about it. It wasn't that I had a hard workout and my body just didn't recover. This was my body now. And, you know, I couldn't stand the person that when I looked in the mirror and that person looking back at me, that wasn't Gail.
Yeah.
Um, that wasn't the person that I remember seeing for 20 something years. And this is during a time for me when, you're in your 20s, you're supposed to have your whole life to look forward to. And it wasn't that way. Um, I tried to black out the whole world. I mean, I covered my mirrors and I literally stopped looking at myself because I could
Wow.
not stand that person that was looking back at me. I just I all my sticky notes and the things that I had, I remember going from writing my goals to writing, this doesn't feel like me. I need answers. I got to catch up to the old Gail. Once I catch her, I got to pass her. So these were the things that I was writing down and putting them on top of the sheet that I had covered the mirror with, because that's all I wanted to see. I just needed answers. You go to the doctor, you look for answers, and they don't give you those answers. It keeps you in limbo. And like I said before, that is the worst place for me to be. I can't be left in limbo. I'm a person that, you know, on the track, I know speed. People tease me. They're like, you're like one or none. I'm like, I'm 0 to 100. And so to leave me at 50 for no reason, it's like I'm just floating here and nobody's telling me when I can go up or when I can come down. No, you're just going to stay there. I can't stay there because that's not me. Every round goes higher and higher. So I'm always looking for that next best thing to better myself, to make myself who I need to be. And there's something wrong. I need answers.
Yeah. But you were setting goals during this time
Yeah.
and then struggling to meet them because your
Right.
body wasn't cooperating. I mean, how did you end up getting a diagnosis?
Oh, that's a good one. I actually I went to UCLA, and so I had gone up to the athletic department and talked to the doctor that was assigned to us, and just kind of catching up on old times. And she looked at me and said, "I think you have a very serious problem with your thyroid." Now, before this, I had
Wow.
stopped going out. I stopped going out of the house because I got tired of people asking me, "Hey, what's wrong?" People who hadn't seen me in a long time. I looked so different that there were so many questions, and I didn't have answers. So I stopped going out. So this one particular day I was there, and by chance, she just looked at me and said, "I think you have a very serious problem with your thyroid." And, I'm like, "What's a thyroid?"
Well, and also, how did this doctor on staff know? I mean, that's
That's what I'm
pretty
saying. I went
specific.
to all these doctors throughout this 2.5 years and nobody told me anything. And now I'm not even going to see her. I just happened to by chance see her, run upon her. And she looked at me and she pointed out the goiter, which for me, I stopped looking in the mirror. So I didn't know. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I started wearing turtlenecks. I'm like, and it was a blessing. To be honest, it was a
Yeah.
blessing. I felt such relief from her telling me that. And I went and I had a TSH test, which I didn't know what that was. I mean, I know now, thyroid stimulating hormone test, but I didn't know. And, and it, before the doctor even ran the test, he looked at me and said, I can tell you're a walking thyroid disorder. And then the tears just came. The tears just came down. It was like, oh my goodness. I went from almost 3 years, and now in the span of 2 days, here's my blessing. Here's my answer. So I mean, tears.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I can relate so much to this, like that experience of being told that it's not all in your head.
Right.
That you get that validation. It gives you a moment of, you sort of experience the grief all at once, right? Yeah, and then there's a moment of celebration briefly, because we have a name.
Briefly, because you don't know what's going on now. Where do we go from here?
Right. But when you have a name for something, in most cases, you know how to handle it, right? And that's the gift, isn't it?
It is. That was it. So that was September of 1990 when I got diagnosed with my Graves' disease. So that day I will always remember.
And how did the thyroid eye disease diagnosis come alongside the Graves' disease? Did they come at the same time together?
Well, I'm still waiting. I still live with this. So for me, you're told, there's different symptoms with your eyes and stuff like that I was experiencing, and I still experience to this day. And so that's something else that I'm like, hey, listen to your eyes for real. And now, I think we always think that it's together, that, okay, any symptoms that I'm experiencing has to deal with my Graves' disease. So I wouldn't know to go to a specialist to get my eyes checked. I assumed that this was normal, that everybody that had Graves' disease, or most people, were dealing with, double vision or blurry vision, that I'm still seeing cloudiness, that the redness that I have in my eyes, the sensitivity to the light, that's just what I have to deal with my Graves' disease. So the biggest relief for me, knowing that 30 years I've been dealing with this, that, wait a minute, this is separate. And I too, like I did, and I was an advocate for my own health 30 years ago, I've got to do it again. So I've made an appointment.
So you're in that space right now.
I'm in that space right now. Yes.
Whoa, Gail, so none of your doctors told you that your eye symptoms could be separate from your Graves' disease? No. I mean, first of all, it sounds like there needs to be more education for these endocrinologists and specialists in thyroid disorders, right? To understand when their patients come to them that, like, there could be these comorbid conditions.
Right.
But I mean, how does that make you feel, that, like, you might have another birthday coming up, but also that, like, 30 years later?
Yeah. I'm actually excited, because, like you said, education is the key for everything. And which is why I'm so, I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I am so appreciative to Horizon Therapeutics, because they're allowing me to not just share my story and raise the awareness. There's so many things that's possibilities. And it's not just for me. It's for me to understand that all the things and wanting to be strong and to deal with my Graves' disease that I have dealt with, but there's still other things that I'm dealing with that may not be, it may be something totally different.
Yeah.
And so the cool part is that, like you said, I may have another birthday coming, and that's going to be a joyous day for me. And what I want to do in this whole process is just make sure people understand. Listen to your eyes, listen to your body. And if you have Graves' disease, thyroid, go and get it checked. Talk to your doctors, let them know everything that you're experiencing so they can make a proper diagnosis, but also listen to your eyes. Mm. The things that you may be experiencing may not just because I have this. It may be something else that can be taken care of. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to help each other. And so if my journey from 30 years ago, and I'm still dealing with some things that also may have an answer, I'm supposed to open my mouth. When they say, when you see something or something, you're supposed to say something. I'm going to, if that's the case, I'm going to be, I'm going to sing it, and I'm telling everybody that, so this, the campaign, the awareness, all of that is so needed. It's so needed. You think about the statistics of how many people are out there with thyroid disease, Graves' disease, and they may be experiencing TED because they're not listening to their eyes. They're just assuming that this is just how it's got to be, and that may not be the case.
Well, so many of us learn to push through, don't
Yes,
we? I mean,
yes.
you've certainly done that in your career, I'm sure. We do that as women,
Right,
like,
right. No, you're right.
I'm also curious, you mentioned that it was your doctor who was sort of part of the team structure at UCLA,
Mhm.
who then, got you in to see a specialist to get your Graves diagnosed. What was it like having these people on your team? Like, knowing that it sounds like you learned to advocate for yourself.
Right.
You also had this support. And I'm curious about sort of the emotional journey towards self-advocacy and all of that, and what it felt like to have people supporting you.
I say no one accomplishes anything by themselves. Um, as far as being a self-advocate, it's because you do know your body better than the doctor that you may see once or twice a year. So I tell people, write it down. If you're feeling something, write it down, because you may not, it's like when your car, something's going on with your car, you take it in and that ticking stops. Okay, well, wait a minute. It was happening. But if it doesn't happen on that day and you forget to tell the doctor, then the doctor may not be able to make a proper diagnosis. So for us to be advocates of our own health, we need to make sure that we're writing everything that we're experiencing down. So
Yes.
I'm a big person of, your personal journals. And then you go in and you talk to these people and let them know. If you have a doctor that, is not spending time with you, I need you to come in and talk to me and ask me from the last time, which I love my doctor, because from the last time I see him to we have a conversation first. And so that's what you need, but just also to know, like you said, the support. It was from my UCLA days, her coming aboard, sending me to my other doctor who ended up making the diagnosis, and eventually going to another doctor who throughout me my pregnancy and all of that is the same doctor that I have now. And so it's that team, to the point that I'm like, if my numbers, if my body feels like, I know I can call and say, hey, I probably need to get tested, just to make sure that I'm where I need to be. And so having that team behind you, just like in athletics, I may be the one that's out there competing, but to get me on that line, it took a whole team. It took this, I always tell people, it's not even a gold medal team, it's a platinum team. It's this platinum level team that got me where I need to be. And it's the same thing with my health. I want platinum level. I want that kind that if I'm feeling something, I can talk to my doctor and find out what's going on. And this last piece for me, listening to your eyes, is so important for me to make sure everybody understands that. It's not just on the one side. There could be something else. TED is real. It's real. And if you have TED, it can change your life to get diagnosed and to finally figure out what type of treatment you can go through, so that what you thought was normal does not have to remain normal.
And that you're not alone, huh?
Oh, you're definitely not alone. That's the thing, and I think even, with my Graves' disease, going through what I went through, and you meet people, and I kid you not, probably every third out of 5 people will tell you either about themselves or someone else who has an autoimmune disorder or something like that. And you share these stories and you figure out that we're a very big family and we're only separated by 1 or 2 people in stories. And so if we share that, it's that common knowledge. When you think you're on an island by yourself, then you think, okay, well, there's no help. But when you start opening your mouth and you're sharing, and you find out that there's a whole bunch of people that's going through this, and we can get help. There is help. This does not have to be where our life is. We can get better, and we can start feeling like one of the blessed days for me was to get back to the point where I felt like Gail Devers again. And that came shortly after my diagnosis, coming back from 1990 to 1991, and it took a couple of years for me to get back to that point. But I found her, and then I passed her, and that was the greatest thing. And like I always tell people, no is not in my vocabulary. So I keep pushing forward, and you tell me, no, I'm going to find another way to figure it out, because I think I deserve the best quality of life. You have one life to live, and you deserve the best quality of life. So if there's information out there that can help me be the best me that I can be till I'm 100, I'm going to figure it out. And then I'm going to
Maybe
share it with
101.
somebody. 101, that's right. And then we become a relay. We're a positive relay because I'm going to pass it on. The knowledge that I have, or put it in that little baton, and I'm going to pass it to you. And with your podcast and what you have and the access that you have, you pass it on to other people. And then we're helping the whole world. And that's what we're supposed to do.
Well, can you talk to us about that recovery process after you were diagnosed with Graves in that period from 88 to 91? What was that experience like for you?
I'm going to run till the wheels fall off. I remember saying that. And for me, that didn't mean just running on the track. That means running my mouth, opening up about my journey, what I had gone through, how I was saved, and being able to share it. And I always tell people, I think I've gone through so much. Nobody else should have to do this. And the only way we're going to do that is to make people aware of what it is. Get early diagnosis, because the earlier you get diagnosed, the better your chances. And so that's been me, running my mouth and running my feet just because I was saving. And mentally, I was back on the track. And so when my teammates would jog and warm up, we brought a stationary bike on the track. And I would get on the stationary bike, and I would, when they're going speed work, I'd go faster on the bike. When they're cooling down, I'd go slower. When they're doing intervals, I was doing that. And for me, I needed to go back and find my sticky notes. And they were a little rusty, a little dusty. I had to, brush them off, but they were still those goals that when I first said, I want to go to the Olympic Games. And the irony is that I didn't put a date. I didn't say when I wanted to go, even though they were written back in, 1988, 1987. Those goals still applied. And I always tell people that I sign my name on the bottom of my sticky notes, because that's like me signing a contract with myself. And word is bond. And so I had to dust them off and get back. And going out there on the track, that was that first step of getting back into the environment and finding Gail. And I ended up doing that. I ended up making the team a couple months later, just being back out there. And when you set a goal for yourself and you work hard to accomplish that goal, and you see those baby steps leading to that big step. I set short range, mid range, and long range goals, and this is where I was. So for me, getting back on track was the end all be all.
Yeah. So beautifully said. So how did your career unfold from there? You got back on the track.
I did get back on the track. Like I said, I had an amazing support system. I still had my goals on my sticky notes. And so I went back in 1992. I went to the World Championships in 1991 that year. And so when I left track and field, I left running, I'll give you just an example in the hurdles, 12.61 was my American record. So when I came back in 91, came back World Championships in Tokyo, and I ran 12.63. So I was very close, but I wasn't done. So I kind of had not really caught back up to Gail. And so I went on and ended up running that year. I think I ran like 46 or some 12.46. So I caught her, passed her, came back in 92. And I always tell the story of my youngest daughter always says back in the day, because she just thinks that's ancient times. So back in the day when I ran, they didn't have, like now they do like a heat draw and they just put you in. But back then, if they thought you had a shot, they gave you lanes 4, 5, and 6. I was in lane 2. So I always tell people, what did they think of me? and so I was in the Olympic Games in lane 2, running the 100 meters. And I remember my friend said, good thing you weren't able to hear them announce you, because, they talk about Graves' disease. And I keep saying, we got to figure out how to change the name of that, because I know what it feels like to be undiagnosed and somebody say Graves. It just sounds like,
I know, it's a bit unfortunate as a name.
Yeah, it really is. I know it was because of the gentleman, but we need to figure that out. We need to find a happier name for it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a twist of fate there, that the person who
exactly
the diagnosis was a Mr. Graves.
Exactly. So I came back and won my first gold medal in 1992. And I remember taking my victory lap. And, this is something that, you've got this sticky note, you've written it down, and now you come back. Something that you didn't know, I remember crawling on the ground 18 months prior to that. And now I'm in a lane at the Olympic Games, and I'm a person that I visualize. So I had visualized myself going across the finish line. Now I've got to put it into action. I've got to execute what I've been taught. And so I remember when the gun went off, and I can remember the race. I said, I got to get out like they've shot me out of a cannon. I've got to move, and I got to just keep going and get to the end. And I always tell people, everybody has a 4 head. I have an 8 head. So, and it's won me some races. So I have to get to the end, and I just got to get over that finish line. And I remember it felt like, when you feel people say, oh, it felt like time stood still. It basically felt like time stood still while you're waiting for them to announce the winners. And they
because it came down to a pretty close finish, right?
Oh, yeah. At that time in 1992, that was the closest finish for women's 100 meters. Like, that many people had run under 11 seconds. And so it was hard to separate. And then they start from lane 9 or the 9th place all the way up. And you're just waiting, like, okay, just say it, say somebody, just say my name somewhere, so I'll take the tension off the moment. And I still remember him announcing, it says, and champion del mundo from the USA, Gail. And I was like, it was one of those like, wow. Oh my goodness. And so I remember just taking off. I heard my coach's voice, and I ran, and we celebrated him. He picked me up, and I think people were like, well, who was that? I said, that was my coach. And I said, and I believe at that time, there were probably 2, maybe 3 people in the world that believed that I could do this. And it was he,
well, you were one of them,
myself, and I don't even know who the third person was.
Yeah.
And I remember taking my victory lap afterwards. And I was running so fast. I remember the cameraman had the big camera, and they were trying to keep up. He was like, slow down. You got to savor the moment. I said, you better come on. You don't know what I've been through, and just trying to explain that just the jubilation of that moment of winning a gold medal, not just for myself, but for my country. And then just knowing all in that moment, even now when I think about it, it takes me back to that moment.
You're making me get emotional.
I'm sorry. I was trying not to. I said it wasn't going to happen.
But it's just so amazing to come from, like you said, crawling on the floor.
Yeah. And, it's just to watch everything and to see it happen, and to know that all that work, all the unanswered questions, that, being diagnosed or not diagnosed or told that it was this or it was that, you're washed up athlete, and still having that vision that I see myself crossing this finish line. And then to cross the finish line, that was a victory for myself. That was a victory for my country. That was a victory for any and everyone who's going through anything in life that you think you can't get over. Sometimes you have to reach deep down inside yourself and keep being that advocate for yourself, because had I given up, I wouldn't have had the career that I had. I would not have been taking that victory lap. I wouldn't be able, and I always tell people I always wanted to be a teacher. And had I done it my way, I would have been in a classroom with 25 kids, but doing it this way and following my goals, following my dreams, I have the world as my classroom. And educating people about Graves' disease, educating people about TED, opening up and making people aware of the things that are around you and how you can save your quality of life. I am a teacher. I am Gail. A teacher.
Oh, you're giving me chills.
I'm sorry.
Don't you dare apologize. I mean, it's just, you're an inspiration. I'm just blown away by your story. And you have so much knowledge and experience and wisdom to offer everyone, let alone people who are going through the kind of experiences with their health that you did. I'm wondering, based on your experience, is there advice, like specific advice that you would give to others who are living with Graves' disease and thyroid eye disease who may know it or not?
Wow, that's a good question. Advice would be, first of all, be your own advocate. Know your body, which you already do, but speak up. When you feel something, when you know something, say something, ask questions. If it doesn't feel right, ask somebody. And if, I think for me, I love life. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but it is. I love life. And I love me. If I had my whole life to live over, I'd ask for my Graves' disease again, because it taught me that I'm tougher than I thought I was. That when the chips are down, you find a way to reach deep inside yourself. We all have that championship mentality inside of us. Sometimes it takes something traumatic to bring it out, but we all have it. We have what it takes to win. Winning in life does not mean that you have to own the company or make the most money. It just means you have to be the best you that you can be. And how do you do that? Is, you find ways to figure out what's going on. You ask questions, and you don't take no for an answer. You don't take no from yourself. You don't take no from anyone else. You keep pushing and keep pushing. There's two things you can do when you're faced with a challenge. We're all faced with challenges. You can either conquer it or you can be conquered. I choose to conquer. And when you talked about metaphors and talking about me and the hurdles, if I can't get over it, I'm going through it. I'm going through it because I already see on that other side. And that other side is so much better than where I was. I don't want to stay in the dark. I don't want to stay in limbo. And so I'm going to keep pushing for myself. I'm going to keep being an advocate for other people. Any information that I have, I'm going to spill it out. And I hope that those that I'm talking to become a sponge and they soak it all up so that they can wring it out when it applies to them at certain points for them in their life.
You're taking me to the Church of Gail. I just want to be here every Sunday. You're just amazing, and I can't really handle it.
Oh my gosh, no, don't say that.
And, Gail, clearly your experience is what made you who you are today. So can you tell us, what does life look like for you now?
Oh my goodness. Okay. So now I am, I'll go back to saying I love life. So I always have to have something to do. Since I've unofficially retired from the sport, I find other things to do. Last year I actually trained for a half marathon. So I went from a sprinter to a half marathon runner.
That's very different.
Yeah, I was a little crazy, but it was an experience that I liked and I loved because my girls got to watch, and my last race I was 40. And so I had Carson and I was pregnant with my second one. So she doesn't really remember, but so they don't know the dedication that, they know that what I say I did. But for me to say I went from doing absolutely nothing to I'm going to get up and in 3 months, I'm going to run a half marathon. They're like, yeah, okay. And they saw me on days that it was snowing and it was outside and I was out there running 11 miles. And they're like, you're a little crazy, mommy. But so for them to be able to watch that was awesome. I volunteer at my daughter's school. I've done it since they were in elementary school. And then even when they left, I stayed there. I had a rapport with the kids that were there to the point that the principal was like, I need you to go get your license. So I went back and got my license. So I am officially can say that I'm a teacher. And it was something, it was, I say everything comes full circle. Yeah. And for me, it was like, there were kids, and I hate to see kids get in trouble because you just don't know. And I feel for teachers because they become, mom, dad, and before they can get to teaching them, you have to figure out what their home life was like that day. Did they eat? Did they have a hug? Whatever. And so I used to volunteer in the media center all the time. And so if a child was having a problem, they would ask, could they come? And it was like, I'd rather you, before you push the button, let me just talk to this person and see if I can get, you're acting up in class and you're not an actor and you're not getting paid. So let's put that in check. So, being able to do that. And so now my oldest daughter now is in high school. And she's playing all these sports. So I'm the fundraiser for every sport. I'm the person that finds the meals for the teams. And now with her in track, she has voluntold me to come out instead of volunteering. I'm voluntold to come out and help the team. And so it's actually a joy to be around. And I'm the older mother of young kids. And I always tell people, well, I was a little busy when people my age were having kids. And so to be able to do that now, it's awesome. And I mentor, different athletes now, and I've become a fan of my sport. So I love to just sit there and be able to watch them. And I'm excited about the Olympic Games and looking to see somebody get an Olympic gold medal in the 100 meters, because the last one we had was mine in 1996. So
wow.
it's exciting. I'm living life. I'm loving life. I do. I have a friend who started a nonprofit for healthcare. So we raise money, and during the pandemic, we were feeding frontliners and just, providing PPE and different things that they needed to allow them to keep doing what they were doing, because they were our unsung heroes saving our community. So for me, I'm always finding something to do, and it's
and
about
you really
loving
give
life.
back. You give back all the time. I mean,
I think that's what my life is. My life is about service, and what can I do to help somebody else? And that's what I look at every single day. And I'm that person that I try to find something positive in the worst situation. I'm that one that you're like, really? I'm like, yes, really.
That there is a silver lining.
There honestly is.
Yeah. Gail, is there anything else that you would like to share with listeners about the lessons you've learned, your experience? Anything else you'd like to share?
I'm very thankful. I'm very grateful, like I said, for my life. I'm grateful to you for allowing me to come on anytime that I can share a little, and people always say, why do you say that? I'm like, because you never know what you sharing a piece of you. You don't know who's listening. People always talk about, oh, role models. Everybody's a role model, because there's always somebody watching. You don't know who that person is, but there's always somebody watching. And it's up to you to decide what you want them to see. I always tell people I'm the same person, whether I'm out in public or at home. At home, I just probably don't have any shoes on, but I'm the same person, the same person. And I truly, truly, truly just I want everybody to have the best quality of life. And I'm dead serious when I say I'm thankful to you. I'm thankful to Horizon for putting me on this journey, that I can open up my mouth and be the teacher and the mouthpiece that I am. I love to talk, as you can see.
You're doing
and
great.
just tell people something that can help them.
Yeah. Well, as you say, running on those feet and also running your mouth, it really served you. And I have to tell you how grateful I am to have had this time with you today. I thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your story so openly, because this is going to land on the right ears, and I'm truly, truly grateful for, first of all you've done to lead as an athlete, as an Olympian. But second, everything that you're doing to continue to raise awareness about these health conditions and to teach. You're a unicorn. And I'm so glad to know you.
I love that.
A gold medal winning unicorn. That's so we're talking platinum level.
I love it.
And I'm just so grateful for you. Gail, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
No, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Please join us for episode 2 to hear from Dr. Gary Lelly, an oculoplastic surgeon specializing in ophthalmology at Weill Cornell Medicine in New York City, where we're going to talk all about thyroid eye disease, what it is, who's at risk, and where to turn for care and support. And for more information about thyroid eye disease, visit thyroideyes.com and join the Listen to Your Eyes Facebook and Instagram communities. Check Gail out, maybe follow her as well. And to find a TED specialist in your area, visit teddoctors.com. Until next time, listen to your eyes.